Let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody tonight to Health for Life Cooking. My name is April Ashcroft, and I'm really excited to have you here tonight. We've had a summer break, and I've had a few months off. I feel like I haven't done, well, I did a class last week actually for ICL, but it's time to get back into it. I'm excited to be here, excited to have you guys here. I have a passion and a mission to teach about the healing power of plant foods and how drastically increasing them into your diet can drastically improve your health. Increasing longevity, decreasing risk of disease, reversing disease if you have it, and achieving and maintaining your ideal weight. And everybody here tonight has the opportunity to achieve those goals if that be your desire. But it's all up to you and the things that you choose to put into your body every day. And I hope tonight I'm going to inspire you to maybe make some better choices. No matter how good you think you're eating, you can always kick it up a notch. I'm always looking for ways to kick it up a notch. I come from a standard American family who ate the standard American diet, and they've all gotten the standard American diseases. Heart disease, diabetes. Both my parents died of cancer. My brothers had kidney failure, just strokes, and just the whole, all the Western diseases. And I decided 25 years ago, 30 years ago, that I was going to do something to change what many would say is my genetic destiny. I knew that I didn't have to suffer the diseases that I saw my family going through, and so I started making changes, and I started to exercise and got into that very heavily and discovered that I could keep my weight pretty much in check if I exercised at the gym every night. And that got to be kind of a vicious cycle. I loved to eat and ate what I wanted, and then I'd just go work it off, right? Well, that caught up with me, and I started feeling pretty crappy and knew that there was something more that I needed to do, and I stumbled on some books and just got the whole idea of plant-based nutrition in my head through these books, and I decided pretty much overnight to switch from a pretty healthy standard American diet. I grew up on beans and whole grains, and I don't know that I've had white rice more than a half a dozen times my entire life. But it was it was still heavy in animal products, and I loved sugar. I was a sugaraholic. I still pretty much am, but it's fruit nowadays. But when I read some of these books and learned about plant foods and how great they are for you, and about animal foods and how they can increase risk of disease if you're eating too many of them, I went from a healthy standard American diet to a whole food plant-based vegan diet overnight, and my world changed. Within a week, my energy levels skyrocketed, went from 0 to 10, and I never looked back. And I've over the years I've met many people that have done the same thing and have had great health improvements, and it's just motivated me to teach because I see a lot of sickness out there. And I have a passion for helping other people to gain greater health. So that's why I'm here. Come on in, ladies. Have a seat. We've got some handouts right there over on the table if you want to grab some of those. If you guys, there's some recipes and other handouts. Feel free to take one if you wish. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm doing a Mexican menu tonight. We've got pinto, bean and greens tostada, beans and broccoli tostada, is that what I'm calling it? And Texas caviar, and then we're doing a spice cake with some peach topping. And we're going to start off with dessert because I love dessert so much, and that's the most important meal of the day, right? Actually, we're doing a cake, and so we got to get it in the oven. We're actually not going to eat this cake. We could, but I just want to get it in the oven and get it cooked. So we're going to start off with, we're going to start off with some grains, some whole grains. And I'm using oats tonight, so this is a gluten-free cake. So if you're doing the gluten-free thing. So I've got 1.5 cups of rolled oats. Whole grains are good for us. That's one thing I want you to remember tonight. This whole thing about grain brain, wheat belly, all that kind of thing. If you can eat grains, if you don't have a problem with gluten, gluten is good for you. Gluten is wheat protein. We're so obsessed with protein. Wheat is one of your best proteins, but of course if you've got a wheat intolerance, celiac or whatever, you've got to stay away from it. But whole grains are good, and the more whole you eat them, the better they are for you. They reduce risk of heart disease, they lower blood sugar, they help with weight loss, they give you energy. I'm just amazed at the energy. I've increased my grains over the last couple years because I was kind of on this, not anti-grain, but I just didn't eat a lot of them. And I've gone to more grains, more whole intact grains, and my energy level is just super good, and you know, I have a hard time keeping weight on because I'm eating a lot of grains, and so I know that they're not fattening. I know. So, okay, so I'm going to start off with these. Now, these are processed. These are rolled oats, so there is a little bit of processing involved with this. I love Brenda Davis. She's a registered dietitian, and she talks about the whole grain hierarchy. And she tells you the best way to eat your grains are sprouted, the whole berry, the whole grain berry sprouted. Next down would be just the whole berry cooked. And next down would be cracked, like cracked wheat, or cracked, I want to say cracked oats, but it's not cracked oats. It's what is it? Steel cut oats. Thank you. Steel cut oats, and then your rolled oats, and then your puffed oats, or then your puffed grains, and then it just goes down to flour. And flour is almost just like sugar. It's like even whole wheat flour has a glycemic index almost the same as white table sugar. And that's because it's ground so fine. So it's better if we can use our grains more whole. I am going to be grinding these oats down, so they are going to be ground pretty fine. But this is a dessert. This isn't something that we eat every day. This is a treat. Come on in, ladies. Grab you some handouts, recipes right there if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'm going to add to okay, so when you're making a cake, there's some main ingredients that we use. We use a grain. We use a fat usually of some sort, and then we use a sugar of some sort. And my cake tonight is going to contain all three of those things, but in whole food form. So we've got our oats, our rolled oats, unprocessed other than rolled. And then we're going to use our fats, which is pecans. These are half a cup of raw pecans. And the great thing about using nuts instead of oils is there's fiber in the nuts. So the fiber, the oils and the fats bind to those fibers so they don't get absorbed into your bloodstream as quickly. When we eat oil that's taken out of its natural package, those fats get into our system very quickly. When we eat a nut, it takes hours for those oils to get into our system. So we need to eat whole fats, have whole fats in our diets. By the way, my assistant in the kitchen tonight is Jen. We're so happy to have her with me tonight. And then we're going to put in our seasonings. So we've got some baking powder, we've got some cinnamon, and some nutmeg, and some cloves, and I think that's it. I'm just going to add that to my work bowl here. And then I think that's it. We've got oats, walnuts, ginger, baking powder. Okay, I'm just going to put on the lid to the food processor. I'm going to grind this up so it is going to be a crumble. Now you can leave this a little bit more chunky, so it's kind of an oat cake. You know, it's more of a textury kind of cake. I've done that before, and I like that. It's good. If you're serving it to, you know, friends, guests, whatever, you probably want to grind it down more fine so it's more cake-like. All right, so this is our dry ingredients right here. It's helpful to have a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, what you can do is grind your dry ingredients in a coffee grinder. And if you don't have a coffee grinder, just buy you a coffee grinder. It's cheaper than a food processor, but you can get you a pretty cheap food processor that would grind the grains and the nuts fairly well. And then you could dump that out and then blend your liquid ingredients in a blender if you've got a blender. Okay, but we're going to add everything right here into the work bowl. So then I'm going to add my sugars, and these are dates. These are about 18 small pitted Deglet Noor dates. They're about 3/4 of a cup. You can use the medjool that you can buy at Costco. You can buy these at Costco as well. Dates are a whole food. They're the best type of sweetener to use. I use dates in about 90% of my desserts. Whole food, all the parts of the plant are still there. All the fiber is intact. That fiber is going to keep those sugars from raising your blood sugar to unhealthy levels. Thank you. And then I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, just about a teaspoon, guesstimate there. And then I'm going to add some applesauce, 1/4 cup of applesauce. And if you, I tend to like to stick with like whole foods. I don't want to buy a whole bottle of applesauce because most likely most of it will go to waste. But I did have a bottle of applesauce in my kitchen, so I thought I'd use it tonight. But a lot of times I will use an apple and just measure out like 1/3 cup of some chopped peel. Do you want to peel it? Because those peelings, well, they may get ground down, but I've made it where I've put apple in it with the peeling, and you get little pieces of that peeling, which is fine, but I like it better without the peeling in it. They tend to be a little tough sometimes. And then, let's see, we'll do some molasses, a tablespoon of molasses. And I don't know where my tablespoon is, so is there one over there in the drawer? I couldn't find one when I looked earlier. I can kind of guess.
Yeah, they're right here.
Oh.
Tablespoon?
Yes.
I don't have glasses, but I think that's.
Oh, that's a teaspoon.
Oh. I'm sorry, you want a tablespoon?
Yeah. You know what, I'm just going to go ahead and guess.
All right.
I can guess pretty good.
Where they file them.
Okay. Tablespoon of molasses, and of course this is going to give it's going to give that, that molassesy flavor. I love it. This is the black strap. You can use the regular molasses. This is a little bit stronger. The black strap is a little bit stronger than your regular non-black strap molasses. And then, let's see, we've got apple cider vinegar, and the apple cider vinegar is going to mix with the baking soda and kind of help this cake to raise a little bit. And we're going to go with about a tablespoon of that as well. And there's my tablespoon. And then we'll just go ahead and put the lid on the food processor, and we're going to go ahead and just grind this up to kind of a thick batter. And you got to stop it and kind of work it a little bit, clean off the sides of your work bowl. All right, and in my pan, I've got a little sheet of parchment paper. That works very nicely for cakes or anything. Cookies. I love parchment paper. It's such a clean, it's so much cleaner than oil. And I don't really use oil, like ever. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. You could also turn these into cookies and just not use as much water in your dough, and make a thicker dough and just cookie scoop them out on a cookie sheet, and they make really nice cookies. Now I have a rule of thumb with my desserts. These I'm using all whole food ingredients. They're super healthy. It's something that you could have a little chunk for breakfast maybe. But I do tell people, these are still, they're still not a real high fat dessert, but they still have some fats in them, high sugar, not something you want to eat all the time. If you have a problem with sugar like I do, you want to make these only when you have friends to share them with. I usually only make desserts when my kids come over, because I cannot have this kind of stuff around the house. It calls me. All right, so we're just going to spread that. And as you can see, it's just a small cake, and you can make 2 and stack it, put it in a round pan, stack it up. And we're going to bake this at 350 degrees for 17 minutes. Jan, I might have you set your timer. Oh, you already have a timer set.
How many minutes?
17.
Set a timer for 17 minutes. A timer is already running.
All right, we'll go ahead and put that in there. And I'm sure you could double that recipe, if you have a good food processor. And, if you're going to whole food cooking, I really highly recommend getting you a good food processor as well as a good blender. This is a major appliance. Both of these are major appliances in my kitchen. They cost pretty much the same as a major appliance, especially the Vitamix, but I use it more than any other appliance in my kitchen, more than my washer and dryer. I use this 2 or 3 times a day, so it's very much worth it. I've had this thing for about 17 years. I've replaced the jar, but the base of it, it's just a power horse. Goes forever. All right, now that we've got that, we're going to put a peach topping on that, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But we'll go ahead with our Texas caviar that we're doing tonight. It's a kind of a salad, pepper salad, and this is the season for peppers. Peppers come on about this time of year. You guys know that green bell peppers are unripe, red, yellow colored bell peppers, and they're ready a lot earlier. But this time of year is when the colored bell peppers are in season. So I like to stick with the colored ones. So in our Texas caviar, I'm going to start off with some corn. This is about, I'm gonna increase the amount in this just a little bit, just so we have plenty. But there is, I've got about 3 cups in here. I think the recipe calls for 2. But I've got about 3 cups of corn. Now this is fresh, raw, uncooked corn. I love using uncooked corn, right off the cob. And then we're gonna put in some bell pepper. And I've got this Vidalia Chop Wizard. Who's got one of these? These are a great tool. If you have it in your cupboard and you haven't gotten it out for 6 or 8 months, or if you've never used it, somebody gave it to you and you've never used it, pull that baby out and start using it. Because if you're chopping a lot of vegetables, it's the greatest thing ever. And you need to be chopping a lot of vegetables every single day. Vegetables are the healthiest foods on the planet. We need to be eating lots more of them than we are. Okay, so I'm going to use it. This has got a dice screen, and it's also got more of a chop screen. We're going to use both of them. And I've already got some of my pepper chopped, but I just wanted to demonstrate, to show you how easy and how quick it is. And of course I had to chop this or cut it first. Peppers are super high in vitamin C. Whenever you hear vitamin C is an antioxidant, whenever you hear antioxidant, I want you to think anti-aging. That's what antioxidants do. They protect your cells and keep you from aging. And we all want that. We're all like looking for the fountain of youth, right? Well, it's all right here, right in the produce department in the grocery store. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And I've got some red bell pepper. We're going to add that too. And let's see, we're going to add some tomatillo. You guys familiar with tomatillos? They're kind of like a green tomato. I didn't chop this one because I wanted to show you what it looks like. And it's got like a little papery skin that's on it too. You got to peel that off. And I'm just going to slice it. It's kind of got a little bit of a tart flavor to it. You can leave this out if you can't find them or you don't like them. Just a few of those. We got 3 of those in there. And we're going to go with some tomatoes. Actually, we'll do our jalapeno peppers first. We're going to do, let's see, we're going to do about 4 jalapeno peppers. And I've cut them and taken the skin and the membranes out, so a lot of the heat is gone. And the secret to this chopper to make it last a long time is just pounding on it. You don't want to be careful with it. You want to just really get your frustrations out with it. And if it does break, you take it back to Bed Bath & Beyond where you got it. Or I don't know if Amazon takes them back, but Bed Bath & Beyond will take them back. They're only like 20 bucks unless you have a coupon. But they will take them back if they break. Sometimes the bottom will crack. But I swear it's because people are too careful with it. Tell them you gotta whack that thing. Okay, I did the dice on those, and now I'm just gonna chop them a little bit more fine. It always makes me nervous using jalapeno peppers because sometimes they can be more hot than others. But 4 usually works pretty good, so. All right, and then we're going to go with our tomatoes. These are fresh, vine-ripe tomatoes. The secret ingredient to this salad to make it really super good. Come on in, ladies, grab you a handout or some handouts and have a seat. And with the tomatoes, you got to be really careful because they will splatter. Let's see. I'll put that over there for now. So you got to be really fast. You got to just put that on there really fast, or it'll just splatter all over you. Your recipe says Romas. I think it does say Romas or other tomato. I like to use Romas. They're not quite as messy, but I like to get them fresh at the farmer's market, and they didn't have any Romas, so we're just sticking with the regular tomatoes. And that's a lot of tomatoes, so we're going to see. This is a really beautiful salad. This is a salad that anybody likes. Even my standard American diet family members, they love this salad. If we have a family gathering, it's always very well received. Go ahead and add that other one. And the way it looks is half the battle, right? If it looks really good and people want to try it, then that makes it taste better. All right, and then we're going to go with, I don't know, I will need that actually, so you can wash it. Let's see. Oh, I still have some more tomatillos, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in. And now we're going to put in some lime juice, and I need my lime squeezer. This is another really great kitchen tool. If you don't have one, it's a citrus juicer. Let's see. Let's bring that right over here. And we're going to go with 3 limes. 2 to 3 limes. We'll go with 3 limes. A good example of antioxidants protecting your cells, we witness that in food. You know, when we cut open an apple, it starts to turn brown after it sits on the counter for a little while. What do we do to keep it from turning brown? We put some lemon juice or some kind of citrus juice on it. And that's lemon is an antioxidant, and it's protecting the cells of that apple from turning brown. Imagine if our cells were turning brown because of lack of antioxidants in our diet. Do you think we'd start feeling sick and our brain would stop working really well, and we maybe have some pain we had inflammation in our body? That's what happens to our body. Scientists believe we get 10,000 oxidative hits a day, and we need antioxidants to fight that oxidation, that free radical damage that just naturally happens every day. When we're breathing, when we're digesting food, when we're exercising, we create that oxidation. When we breathe in environmental toxins, gas fumes, cigarette smoke, fumes from furniture, paint, whatever, oxidation happens in our body. Our cells get damaged, and we need to eat lots of antioxidants. And some of the highest foods in antioxidants are your plant foods. Plant foods have 64 times more antioxidants in general than other foods. And a great example of that is iceberg lettuce, for instance. It's a super low antioxidant food. It's only got 7 antioxidant units. Blueberries have 800. We know that blueberries are good for us, right? Super high in antioxidants. Chicken has 4. So we know that's not high in antioxidants. Eggs have 5. So we want to stick to those high-colored foods. In fact, I don't have that handout here tonight, but Dr. Joel Furman, he's a board-certified family physician from New Jersey who his prescription is food. It's all about food, high-nutrient foods. Greens are the highest nutrient foods on the planet. That's your #1 food that you should include, and we are going to be including some tonight. So to this, you could leave this salad the way it is and serve it the way it is, but I do like to put in some beans in it. The black beans look so nice in this salad, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in. And this is just 2 cans, And I like to cook my beans from scratch, and the pinto beans I'm using tonight are cooked from scratch. I just take the hard beans, soak it for 24 hours till it gets really bubbly on the top, and then drain off that water, and then I cook them in my crock pot. For salads, I tend to want to find some beans that taste good. A lot of the beans in the cans taste like the can, so I prefer to cook them myself. But if I can find some good canned beans, I'll buy them and keep them on hand for salads, because they tend to hold together. The beans in the can tend to hold together a little bit better than the ones I cook. They get a little bit mushy. So, all right. Beautiful. Isn't that salad beautiful? You got a good look at that, hopefully. Okay, let's see. I think, let me just peek at my recipe and make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, we didn't put any red onion in there. We got to get some red onion in there. Oh, yes, please. Onion and all your allium family vegetables. Allium family are onion, leek, garlic, scallions, all of those types of vegetables. They have the most powerful effect against cancers. And a large European study showed that people who ate the most onions had the least cancers of all types. And it was a large European study involving like 10 countries. So we want to get those onions in. And this chopper is like the best for doing that. I'm going to give that to you. Thank you. And when you've got this chopper and you're chopping onions, there's no more tears because it's so quick. And then we're going to put in some avocado. Avocado is the magic. Okay, we're not using an oil vinegar dressing tonight. We're getting oils from a whole food because the fibers are intact. Oils are white sugar in the fat kingdom. I've heard them be compared to like white sugar. They've taken the whole food and they've taken out the oil and left all the other good things behind. And we eat that and we think it's healthy and decreasing our risk of heart disease, and it's actually increasing our risk of heart disease. We want to get our oils in whole food forms. This avocado is not the greatest. I think it's not avocado season.
You did want me to do a taste test, right?
Well, I don't have the dressing on it yet. But you can have it.
Put avocado in there.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry, I can't eat avocado.
She's my taste tester.
Recently, I found out that avocados are the food on the earth that is closest to mother's milk.
Really?
And because of that,
That's interesting.
it has a lot of the nurturing characteristics and stuff in it that caregivers need to take care of themselves and everyone else.
Well, avocado sure does nurture me.
So
I tell you.
if you're a caregiver, you need to eat lots of avocados.
All right. Yeah, that's got a little bit of brown in it. Healthy fats. Again, whole foods. The fibers are intact. When you eat oils, you coat the lining of your arteries with that oil, and it has been shown a meal high in oil, high in olive oil, has been shown to slow blood flow 40% within 4 hours after consuming it. We don't want our blood flow to be slowed. It shuts down that nitric oxide production that your endothelials, which line the inner lining of your arteries, they produce nitric oxide, and it keeps your arteries flexible. It's the most powerful vasodilator, meaning that when you go out for your run or go for a hike or climb a flight of stairs and your body needs more blood, your arteries expand. That's dilation. Your arteries dilate. And green leafy vegetables help that along, and oils slow that down and impair that function, those endothelial cells producing that nitric oxide. We don't want to put oil in our bodies. In fact, if you want to hear it from somebody besides myself, several people I've got on my website, and you've got it on your handout sheet, healthforlifecooking.com. I've got on my first page, I've got like 4 videos, YouTube videos from 4 different doctors talking about oils and why oils are harmful to the body. And they They describe that much better than I do. All right, we're going to move over here and make our dressing. Every salad needs a good dressing. And I like oil vinegar type dressings, but again, we're not using oils, we're using the avocado, and then we're going to do a vinegar, kind of a sweet vinegar dressing. And I think that's my vinegar dressing. And so what I'm using is dates. Again, I'm using dates, and I've soaked my dates in rice vinegar. When you go to the store to buy rice vinegar, I want you to look at the labels and make sure it's just vinegar. Most of the seasoned rice vinegars are going to have sugar in them. You want to find unseasoned, and it's just vinegar. And then you soak it with some dates, or even raisins, or some kind of fruit, or even blend it with some kind of fruit, and you've got a sweet vinegar dressing. And this dressing is really good on any kind of salad, but I use it for this one mainly. So I'm just going to dump those dates and that vinegar right in the blender there. Thank you. And give it a blend. And I've had those soaking for, I think actually since last night. But you want to let them soak for about 4 hours to get them softened up. And this way it's going to just blend up creamier, quicker, faster. This thing will heat, and you don't really want it to get too hot. So it's better to soak them. And that is kind of thick, and so I'm going to grab some water. And you can add more vinegar if you want, either vinegar or water. If you want to dilute the vinegar a little, flavor a little bit, you can do that with water.
How do you feel about the apple cider vinegar?
Apple cider vinegar, yes, that's good to use. It's a little bit stronger, so you might want to use a little less, but I do use apple cider vinegar. I know there's some health benefits to it. Helps digestion and stuff. I know Jan really likes this dressing. Do you use it for some other things besides the Texas caviar?
How many dates did you put in that?
There were, I think, about 20. I usually do a cup at a time. So and it doesn't really matter how many, if you want to just do a half a cup, you just cover them with the vinegar, just barely cover them. And then, or if you want to do, if it's too vinegary for you, if you want to make it less vinegar flavor, you just add water instead of vinegar. You just change, add a little bit more water and less vinegar. So I'm going to just mix this into our salad. And you can just kind of do it by taste, how much you want to put in there. Is that cake done? Oh, and it's looking good too. Mm-hmm. Smells good. So yeah, this dressing would be, I remember back a long time ago, I used to like making a dressing with rice vinegar and honey or some kind of a sweetener. So actually I bought the rice vinegar that had sugar in it, and I liked that on a salad just by itself. But this would be a much better option, much healthier. And it's so thick that it kind of clings to the vegetables rather than leaving a puddle of dressing in the bottom of your bowl when you're done with your salad. It sticks to the vegetables. Okay, taste test. Oh, do you want a taste test, even though it's got a little bit of avocado in it?
No, but can I put a little dressing on this salad and taste it?
No, because I'm going to serve them this.
Okay, I'll taste it.
Let's see, you can get a little out of there without avocado.
No avocado, right?
No avocado. Does it need more dressing?
No, I just think it needs a little salt.
Oh, a little salt. Oh, I forgot about the salt. Thank you for reminding me about the salt. We need a little salt. I do use a little bit of salt. I use the real salt, Redmond real salt. Oops. And salt is salt. It's all, people ask me about Himalayan salt and the pink salt, all the different types of salt. And salt is salt. It's all sodium chloride. It all will raise your blood pressure if you eat too much of it, but I do use it a little bit, and I think it's okay. Especially I think when we live in a hot climate like we do in the summertime, it's good to get a little bit of salt in your diet. Besides, you know, whatever it takes to get you to eat more vegetables, if you need to add some salt to it, do it. Because the benefits of the vegetables way overpower the, you know, harmful effects of the salt, the little bit of salt. As long as you're, you know, when you get rid of processed foods, you're cutting your salt way, way, way down. And that's, you know, I encourage people, get rid of the stuff in the box, and you're going to greatly reduce your sodium intake. Okay, there we go. There's our Texas caviar. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful salad. It tastes good too. I don't know what that's doing sitting there. All right. We will go ahead and we're going to get the taco stuff done, and then we'll serve those two things together. So we will start with that. Start that on high. All right, so once again, chopper. You know what, I think I will, if anybody wants to try this, I'll put this in a little bowl. In fact, why don't you do that for me? That would be awesome.
You want a small screen or a big screen?
The big screen.
You have it. No, here it is.
Thank you. All right, so once again, we're going to do an onion. The compounds in the onion that are so anti-cancer are those organosulfur compounds that make you cry. You know, you can smell that onion all day and carry it around with you if you wanted, and it wouldn't hurt you, it wouldn't make your eyes water. But as soon as you cut it open, those organosulfur compounds are becoming activated. And the more you chop, the more you chew, you're getting more of those compounds into your body, and that's what's fighting the cancer. They've been literally shown to stop tumor growth in your body. So, and they are best, of course, when they're raw, but we are going to cook these a little bit. And the outer skin has actually got more of those compounds. It's always the stuff that we throw away that's best, right? I don't know why that is. In fact, as I was cutting up the broccoli tonight, the little green stems that we pull off and throw away, those are like 10 times higher in sulforaphane than the broccoli itself. I don't know if it's 10 times, but it's a lot higher. Some of the information that I get about foods is from nutritionfacts.org. It's Dr. Michael Greger, and he is a medical doctor researcher that has devoted his life to getting the nutrition research out to the public. And he puts out a video every day, has done it for the last 6 or 8 years about the latest in nutrition research. And again, it's nutritionfacts.org. I highly recommend checking him out. In fact, on your recipe sheet on the back, I've listed some of my favorites, my favorite YouTube, my favorite doctors, my favorite books. And one of them, Brenda Davis, she does the whole grain hierarchy. Find her on YouTube. Those three that are on there under YouTube, they're my favorite doctors to listen to. They're easy to listen to, they're interesting, they're entertaining, and I just really enjoy them. So anyway, I don't know why I started talking about her. Oh, nutritionfacts.org. Yes, he puts out a video every other day. Anything you want to know about nutrition, you could go there and find it, I'll bet. There's thousands of videos. They're just little 2 to 5 minute videos about whatever subject you want to know. If you want to know which mushroom is the best, or which apple is the best, or which leafy green is the best, it's kale, by the way, which, you know, if chocolate's good for you, if, is that still hot? Does that feel hot? Okay, so I realize this is a nonstick pan. I meant to bring my pan with me, but I always seem to forget it. But it's warm. Yeah, turn that on. It's a nonstick pan, but I can do this without a nonstick pan. I don't have any oil in my pan. Again, oil, 100% fat. It's the highest calorie, lowest nutrient food that we consume, and we consume way too much of it. Back in the 80s, the late 80s, when we learned that olive oil was so good for you because the Mediterranean people use it, we all started dumping olive oil all over our food, and heart disease is almost gone in this country, right? Because we're doing that, right? No, it's not. It's not any better. It's still our #1 killer, and we're putting olive oil on our food. So what's the deal? It doesn't work. It's a highly processed food, like I've already talked about. So You don't want to use oil. And I'm not, even if I didn't have a nonstick pan, I could still saute without oil. What you do if you have a pan that tends to stick more, my pan at home is a pretty good pan, stainless steel, so it works quite well. I just have it on a high heat, and I just kind of babysit it a little bit. I stir it until the onions start to brown a little bit. And they will start to stick eventually, and I just get a little bit of water and put a little bit of water in there. You can use vegetable broth. You could use a soy sauce if you're doing kind of an Asian style dish. You could use a cooking wine if you want. A lot of times if I'm doing something with tomato in it and I'm using canned tomatoes, when it starts to stick, I grab those canned tomatoes and throw them in, and that's my liquid. Mushrooms will also help to keep it from sticking because they're pretty watery. In fact, we will, we have so few mushrooms, I'm just going to go ahead and chop those with my knife after I chop my garlic. So we're going to use 2 cloves of garlic, another one of those allium family vegetables. Dr. Michael Greger on nutritionfacts.org also talks about which foods target which types of cancer. And there's actually certain foods that target specific types of cancer. So if you know somebody with, prostate cancer, go on there and find what foods are best for prostate cancer. We know tomatoes are, especially. I don't know which kind. Actually, garlic and, like I said, garlic and onion, all those allium vegetables, they are the most powerful against all cancers.
So when you talk about tomatoes, you're talking about organic, right?
Organic?
Organic tomatoes?
The studies.
Tomatoes are on the bad, nasty.
Yeah, are they a dirty dozen?
They're a dirty dozen.
The research done on plant foods, fruits and vegetables, and their effects on disease have been done on conventional produce. So if you can't afford organic, still eat your vegetables. Don't worry about that. If you can buy organic, yes, buy organic. I've kind of tried to go, I'm trying to go 100% more organic, 100% organic these days. And I'm not feeling any different, I just feel better about it. I like to support the organic growers. They have been shown to have higher nutrients, and of course you're getting less pesticide exposure, which is always good. So this is starting to stick a little bit. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water. We don't need to add any oil. And when you add that oil, it's going to kind of break up the browning that's on the bottom of the pan. That's just adding a little bit of flavor. Okay, I'm going to take my mushrooms and just give them a good chop. Yes? What's that? I don't peel my mushrooms. I've had people ask me that before, and I spend way too much time in the kitchen. I don't want to peel my mushrooms. Really? So is there something on them? I know there's a toxin called the agarotine, but if you cook them, that gets blown off. Yeah. I try to wash them really good and hope that I don't have a mushroom brush, though. Maybe I need to get one. They're a very thin-skinned food. In fact, I'm thinking peeling the skins because they're so thin, and if they're getting toxins or whatever, I'm thinking it's getting inside the mushroom because the skin is so thin. Yeah, I noticed that the outer peeling does come off fairly easy sometimes just when I'm cutting them. So mushrooms contain aromatase inhibitors, which keeps estrogen levels low. There was several studies actually showing that just one button mushroom a day, the white button mushrooms, just one of those a day will cut risk of breast cancer by 64%. When that was combined, those were some Asian studies, when that was combined with green tea, it bumped it up to 89%. So mushrooms are powerful anti-cancer, especially breast cancer, prostate, hormonal type cancers. So get a mushroom in every day. In fact, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, he has an acronym for the most powerful anti-cancer foods, G-BOMBs: greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So if you get those in every day, and those are great for just fighting disease in general. Okay, we are going to add our greens. So these are green tacos, beans and greens tacos. I need my chopper again.
No, I just put it in the water. I'll grab it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so mushrooms have angiogenesis inhibitors. Angiogenesis is when our blood vessels grow. When we're young and we're growing, we have a lot of angiogenesis going on. Our blood vessels we're stimulating growth. When we're older, we don't need that. But cancer tumors, have angiogenesis. That's how they create more tumors, and we want to shut that process off. Mushrooms will do that. They're anti-angiogenic. So, okay, so we're gonna. Oh, you know what? I need my smaller one. There we go. So my broccoli, most of my broccoli is chopped, but I just wanted to show you. I'm using the smaller screen, and this is going to make a crumbly texture. And you're not even going to know that the broccoli's in this. Mushrooms also have one of your best probiotics. They feed your gut bacteria very well. Beans do as well. They contain 22 proteins that lower, this is mushrooms, 22 proteins that lower blood pressure and cholesterol at the same time. There's no food, or there's no medication that will do that. So we're going to go ahead and add the broccoli, 2 cups of broccoli to our pan. I think maybe I'm done with this finally. Oh, you take that. Yep, yep. That, yes, I think so. Mushrooms also block carbohydrates from a meal, so your body doesn't absorb the carbohydrates as much when you have mushrooms with them. And green leafies. We're adding greens to broccoli. Who ever heard of that, right? So this is kind of my main goal in my cooking, is to get as many leafy greens into my diet as I can, because they're the most powerful foods to heal everything. I mean, any type of disease, just get more leafy greens into your diet. Of course, we've heard about sulforaphane in broccoli. Broccoli is a cruciferous vegetable. And back to cancer again. People that get a cup of women that get a cup of cruciferous vegetables in a day cut the risk of breast cancer in half. Cruciferous vegetables are kale, collards, broccoli, bok choy, arugula, watercress. We're using some green cabbage tonight. That's a cruciferous vegetable. Greens are high in lutein. People with the highest levels of lutein in their blood have the cleanest arteries with no atherosclerosis. Greens protect from methylation. Methylation is cell damage. Smokers that eat a lot of greens don't get that cell damage, don't get that methylation. We want to increase our greens. Let's see. They reduce oxidative stress, to which our body is very susceptible to. I talked about that oxidation earlier. Most powerful against that. Greens contain up to 49% protein. If there's one thing that you learned here tonight, is that you don't need to worry about protein. Don't worry about protein anymore. I want you to throw that worry about protein out the door because we get protein in everything we eat. Well, unless you're living on Snicker bars, and they probably still have protein in them. There's no protein deficiency in our country. I'll bet all of us probably, any of us in this room probably don't know anybody that has a protein deficiency, but I'll bet you know a lot of people that have too much protein, too much animal protein in their diet. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that. Most of the diseases are excess, too much of everything, too many carbohydrates, too much protein. If we're just eating a good, healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, we are getting all the protein we need. Okay, I'm going to add to this some green chilies. These are just Ortega green chilies. Costco's got a really good brand, the 505 brand, that I really like. I ran out of those, so I'm just got some of those. They work really good. They're just a mild green chili. I need to shut that down. That's hot. Whoops. Okay, and then I'm going to add some seasonings to this. I'm going to add a tablespoon of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and a teaspoon of oregano. And that's looking hot. All right. Oh, greens are high in folate and calcium. Where does the cow get her the mother cow get her calcium from? Does she go out and have 4 glasses of milk a day? She doesn't, does she? What does she eat? Leafy greens. Leafy greens are high in calcium, and they're a more absorbable form of calcium than cow's milk. Cow's milk is made for a baby cow, not a human being. We need to wean ourselves away from our mother cow. I'm going to add 2 cups of pinto beans to this. Beans, the magical food. The more you eat, the healthier you are. Don't be afraid of beans. They're high in protein. Good source of protein, good source of fiber, good source of resistant starch, which resists the normal digestive process, and they go down into your gut and they ferment and they make butyrate, which feeds your gut bacteria. You know, we're all into taking probiotics and stuff, and that's really good if you've been on a pretty hardcore round of probiotics. I mean, antibiotic, you need a probiotic. But if you just want to build up your gut in general, eating beans is a really good way to do it. Much better than kombucha and some of these, you know, sugary, high sugary things that a lot of people are using. Eat your beans. Your gut bacteria loves it. In fact, your gut bacteria live on carbohydrates. Do not eat a low-carb diet because you're going to starve your gut if you do. You know, I forgot my cilantro, and I can't remember where it goes. It probably goes in the Texas Caviar, but I'm going to put a little bit in the broccoli. Does it go in the Texas Caviar? I don't see it. Maybe it's not even on anywhere. Maybe I just dreamed I needed cilantro, but we're going to put it.
It's good in the Texas Caviar, I'm sure.
It would taste good. Maybe I'll just. Do you have my knife? Yeah. Why don't you chop some of that up for me, would you? Yeah. Okay, we didn't put any tomato paste in here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And I want a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste. And we don't want it too tomatoey. This just gives it a little bit of a tomatoey flavor. And the tomato the red kind of hides the greens a little bit, although you can totally see the greens. I mean, if you're trying to serve this to a kid, good luck. So yeah, I try to get greens in any way I can. I put greens, I make kind of an enchilada casserole with this same type of a combination. It's a little bit more runny. I use canned bean that's got more liquid, and I just layer it with a tortilla. I put, you know, spinach and I mean, you can just put greens in everything. It just adds adds to the dish, makes it better. I do a sloppy joe that's got greens and broccoli in it. Same kind of thing with a barbecue-y sauce over it, just like this. Okay, I think we need a little bit of salt in that. Where'd my little teaspoon go? You're always washing my dishes, Jan. She's so good.
That might be a little wet.
That's okay.
I think it's the right spot.
No, it works. Okay, we're going to go half a teaspoon. There. I know, I wish I had a dishwasher. Although I don't mind washing dishes so much. You do have a good dishwasher at home. I think I'm just going to combine these two. I made a batch last night, or earlier today, of this. So all that cooking we didn't need to do because I'm just going to combine it. Oh. So just a few things about beans. Beans, you know, we don't eat enough of them. We might have them in a burrito, you know, or taco or whatever, but we just don't eat enough of them. 1 cup of beans twice a week shows to cut risk of colon cancer in half. They're high fiber, they're high in folate. We need to get folate from food. Folate comes from leafy green vegetables. That's where foliage, that's where the term folate comes from. We don't want to take folic acid in supplement form. It increases risk of liver cancer. We want to eat folate in the form of green leafy vegetables, and beans. They're high in complex carbohydrates, low in calories. They're beneficial fats. They're rich in zinc, increasing the production of white blood cells to fight infection. Good source of protein, 20 to 37% protein. Did you guys know that greens are high in protein as well? I think I did mention that actually. They help prevent food cravings. They decrease your desire for sweets. They help you to stay full. They stabilize blood sugar, so they're really great for diabetics. They remove cholesterol and other fats out of the body. Help to do that. They help regulate your bowels. We got to take the garbage out every day if we want to be healthy. There are powerful anti-cancer benefits against breast and prostate cancer. The most nutrient-rich carbohydrate. Beans are more nutrient-rich than your grains. You still want to eat your grains, but beans are a better source of carbohydrates. Legumes have been shown to lower heart rate with just 1 cup a day. I talked about resistant starch. They lower blood pressure and cholesterol. One study showed that 1/4 cup of beans cut precancerous polyps by 65%. Polyps are what they find in your colon, you know, when you have your colonoscopy. So we need to eat more beans. Wrong lid. Okay, so those are done. What we're going to do tonight, I still need to do, let's see, I still need to do our cheese sauce. We're doing a cheese sauce tonight for our taco. So we'll go ahead and do that. I have my blender jar handy over here.
The plates out, put the tortilla on.
That would probably be good. Well, they're gonna help themselves
That's
make
what
a
I mean. I
tortilla.
could put
Oh
plates
yeah.
up, though,
Okay.
with the tortilla on.
Okay, so we need to have a little bit of cheese sauce on our tortilla or on our burrito. And again, I encourage people to get off dairy. Get off dairy. If there's one thing you can do to improve your health, it's get off cow's milk. You'll get rid of migraine. You could possibly get rid of migraines, get rid of all that mucousy stuff that you wake up with in the morning. It's a good way. Drinking milk is a good way to grow cancer cells. It stimulates growth. Milk is made to stimulate growth. It's made to turn a baby cow, 60-pound baby cow, into a 600-pound calf in like 6 or 8 months. And we don't need that kind of growth-stimulating hormones. It promotes growth in our body. And if we have cancer cells in our body, we do not want growth-stimulating hormones in our body. Get the dairy out. Okay, so we're going to make a cheese sauce, though, because we have to have some kind of replacement for cheese, because we all love cheese. I said I would never give up cheese, but when I read the book Fit for Life, and it explained about dairy and cow's milk and where it came from, I was like, oh, yeah, that's not very appetizing. So.
I forget if you have cheese, you should have it in the raw form from a cow that's been grass-fed without any antibiotics.
Yeah, that's probably better, but it still has growth hormones in it. So organic cheese, organic milk, it's pretty much the same. You know, it's still animal protein that raises risk of cancer, and it has no fiber to move, you know, toxic compounds out of your body. But that probably is a good choice to move to organic, but just it's only a little bit of a benefit. Okay, so this cheese sauce is going to be made with seeds, and I'm using a cup of raw sunflower seeds. Now, I've been wanting to experiment. I've got some food sensitivities, so I'm staying away from nuts and seeds for a while, but when I get to where I can have them again, I want to try cutting the fats in this with some potato. Have you guys ever seen a cheese sauce made with potato? They blend up potato. I'd like to start to try that, although I like to do half and half or add a little bit of fats in it, because fats are good for you, and it also, you know, gives that fatty feel. People just like that, like to have a little bit richer fatty feel. Yes?
Do you ever soak your nuts or seeds?
I do, if I think about it. The problem is I never think about it, but I know they're more digestible. I could probably do better on nuts and seeds if I soaked them. In fact, I can do sprouted almonds. So yes, if you wanted to soak these, because we're adding water to this, if you wanted to soak them and sprout them first, you could totally do that. In fact, I would encourage it. You increase the nutritional value by, I don't know, thousands of times, I've heard.
Even with your beans, if you soak them until they just barely start to get sprouting,
They're more
way
digestible.
increases the
Yeah.
nutritional value.
Yeah, I know time is, you know, it's like one more thing to think about, and I mean, I spend a lot of time and I do all these extra things, but for some reason I just never think to sprout my seeds before I use them. So, okay, so we're gonna just add a little bit of water. Calls for a cup of water, but I like to start off with less. The less moisture you have in here, the better it blends. I'm gonna put in 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then I've got some seasonings in here. I've got 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Are you guys familiar with nutritional yeast? It's kind of a cheesy flavored yeast product. It's not brewer's yeast. It's not, it's not the kind of yeast that makes bread raise. It's just a nutritional yeast. I think it's brewer's yeast that's fortified. It's got some nutrients added to it. I don't use it I don't use it really anymore, but it's one of the main ingredients in a non-dairy cheese sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that. It's grown on molasses, actually. Who asked that?
I did.
Oh, yeah, it's grown on molasses. Yeah, that's all I know. So it's rich in B vitamins. It's supposed to have some health benefits. Gives me headaches. So, okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit of a red bell pepper, and this is going to turn this sauce a little bit red, so it kind of has that cheesy look. And I'm just going to go ahead and put all that in there. And I believe that's it. So we'll go ahead and blend. Seeds are more nutritious than nuts. Seeds are higher in minerals, higher in proteins, higher in fibers. One of the fibers is lignans, and lignans convert to phytoestrogens in the body. We want phytoestrogens because those phytoestrogens, they attach to our estrogen receptors, and men and women, we all have estrogen receptors on our body. They attach to those estrogen receptors and blocks your body's ability to attach the harmful estrogens to your body. So we want plant estrogens. Seeds are a good source of that. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that so it's a little bit more runny so it can be poured. What I've done that's really fun is to put like a jalapeno pepper in here, even a red one, to just add some spice to it, or even some green chilies that are hot. So you have somebody told me once this tastes like Chili's queso. I've never had Chili's queso, so I don't really know, but I was like, oh, that's good to know. And I've made this also without the nutritional yeast, so some people do have a problem with nutritional yeast and headaches, and so you can leave it out. I just increase the onion powder and garlic powder a little bit, just to add a little bit more flavor, add a little bit of extra salt. But the nutritional yeast is really good. I mean, if you can, it's tasty. Helps people get off cheese. Let me just wash. I'm going to need that too in just a second. Okay, that might need a little. This will thicken as it sets. If you were to set this in the refrigerator, it would thicken up to almost a spreadable consistency for the next day. So if you wanted to put it on a sandwich or something, you could. Drizzle it over a pizza, although I'm not sure I would want to do that. I've learned to like pizza just with lots of vegetables, with no cheese on it. I know that's like really hard to imagine, but. So what we're going to do tonight is, the last time I've done these classes, we've served you guys. I did an ICL class last week and I had like 40 people, and I was like, I can't serve 40 people. So we had them come up, and it worked out a lot better. It was a lot smoother. People kind of got through a little bit quicker. So I'm going to have you guys just come up and get your food. We've got our tostada, and what I do with that is just put a scoop of that on there, and then I top it with, we've got some cabbage some shredded cabbage, and some grape tomatoes. So you just put a couple of grape tomatoes on top if you want. You can put whatever you want on it. And then Texas caviar off to the side. We've got some chips, individual chips for the Texas caviar. That's really good with chips on it. These tortillas, I have taken a regular corn tortilla and just laid it down on a cookie sheet, these, and baked them in the oven at 270 degrees, 260, 270. And it makes a nice crisp taco shell or tostada shell. And then for chips, I just cut them in wedges and lay them out on the cookie sheet and bake them. No oil, totally healthy. You can have your chips and salsa and eat the whole bag and it won't even hurt you. So anyway, the chips are for the Texas caviar. These are for the tostada. And you know what? We're going to stir in this cilantro into the Texas caviar. I almost forgot about that. And we've got one more. I'm going to go wash that since I've got my gloves on. Yeah. We're going to do one more thing with the blender. We're going to make like a peach glaze. You guys know how, you know, with like a pie, a fruit pie or something, you've got a glaze on it. We're going to make that glaze with peaches and dates. Again, we're using dates. I use a lot of dates. So let's see, where's my jar? Is the jar, oh, there's the jar right there. So again, I'm going to use some dates, and I've got them soaking, so they're nice and soft. And I'm not going to go by the recipe on your sheet for the peach stuff because I'm doubling it or tripling it or something.
And what did you soak those dates in?
Just in water. And then I'm going to, first I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon, about a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we'll go a little bit more than that since we're increasing the amount. And then we're going to go just a little bit of nutmeg. And we're putting this over a spice cake, so we don't want to, I mean, the spice cake's already pretty spicy. Not spicy, but it's very flavorful. And then we're going to take part of our peaches and just add them to the blender. And I think I've got on your recipe sheet to slice like 6 peaches and slice 4 of them and blend 2 of them. I was slicing peaches and I kind of forgot I usually keep one whole, so I'm just scooping some of this out. Okay. And then that's it. We're just going to go ahead and blend this up. All right. So this, with the glaze on top, I call it a glaze, mixed in with your fruit. You can do this with any type of fruit. I do a peach pie where I make a crust with nuts and oats and dates, and you grind it up in your food processor, kind of like we did for the cake, except you put more nuts in it so it gets sticky, and you press that into the bottom of a pie pan. Fill it with the peaches, sprinkle some of that crumble on top. You could also do like a peach crumble where you keep your oats more intact, like a cobbler, or a crumble. I guess it's called a crumble. You could do that. We're using this on top of the cake as kind of your frosting. It's not really frosting, but you could put this on top of pancakes. You could layer it in parfait dishes with some nuts and coconut and whatever. You could just do all kinds of yummy things with this. And we're still in peach season. I had a friend that said their Fairtime peaches are just coming on, so you'll have something to do with your peaches if you... Fry's Market has Colorado peaches right now too that are super, super tasty. Fry's Market out in Santa Clara. Unfortunately, they don't do organic. So I asked him about that, and he's like, no, we can't even go there. They're a small family-owned, been around for, I don't know, 60, 80 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I go, you know, Costco's got some great organic peaches that aren't too pricey. Okay, we're going to go ahead and serve up that cake for you. So let's see, I think we're ready, you guys. So if we want to just start with, let's see, let's bring this over here. Do we have we could probably set this on there. Do we have a hot pad?
yeah,
Oh, right here.
I'm gonna put it like right out
In the
there,
front.
so they can grab their plate and scoop that.
Yeah. So let's have the front row come up. You have an advantage from sitting in the front row. Do we have a fourth a cup? Do you have a fourth a cup scoop? That's kind of what I figured is, I was kind of measuring it out ahead of time and about a fourth a cup. Oh, did the camera get the picture of the stuff? Of course, the tostada stuff just doesn't look very good, so. But you can get a picture of the tostadas when they're made up. So a fourth a cup is about the perfect amount for everybody, so you can do a heaping is good. And just plop that on one of your shells, put some cabbage on it and a tomato on it and some of your cheese sauce, and you're good to go. So help yourself.
Work on your cake.
And we'll get your cake going. Let's get rid of that.
The dressing that we put on the Texas Caviar.
Yeah, if anybody wants to have a little taste or.
I have some out.
Oh, you have some out already? Okay.
I just want to wash the counter.
Okay, good idea.
What was that again?
It's just the stuff that's, in that. That's the cheese sauce. Uh-huh. And I'll get you some cake here if you want to hold up for just a minute. Did that cake rise in the one we cooked? I thought it looked like it had. And we don't have quite as many signed up, so I think we might not even have to cut into that other one. Did you count how many?
22.
Oh. I got lots of peaches, so I'm going to load it up. So you guys can just come on down when you're ready. Whoops. Peaches just look so good. Let's see.
The corn is raw, right?
Yes.
Is it frozen?
Nope. It's raw. It's fresh.
off the
Uh huh.
cob?
Yep. Just cut it off the cob
It
fresh.
looks sliced when you try to cut it off.
Oh.
You want one of those?
When I cut it off.
No, I just use a knife.
I want to ask you a question. I may have missed another, I printed up another class and I missed it.
That's okay.
At the beginning of tonight, you made comments about rice.
Uh-huh.
Are you anti-rice?
No, I love rice.
So,
In fact, did I-
Like, is mineral rice, fresh rice, brown rice?
Brown rice, whole grain brown rice, yeah.
All the time?
Yeah, or wild rice, any of your whole grain rices, yeah, are good. There's been concern about, is it cyanide in rice that's grown in other countries? So if that's something, I don't know a whole lot about that. I have heard somebody say that, it's not that bad to where you have to worry that much about
I eat a
it.
lot of mineral rice. I just
Yeah, minute rice is probably a processed, highly processed food. It would increase blood sugar, you know, if you've got diabetes issues or anything.
Yeah, I'm clear with all that.
That's
I got a thing called von Willebrand.
What is it?
Von Willebrand.
Don't know what that is.
It's a slow clotting disease.
Oh,
So it's like when I cut myself real easy, and it's a problem.
you bleed
with
a
stomach.
lot. Oh,
And I'm a retired cook.
oh,
Used to have to call out hazmat if I hurt
oh
myself.
dear.
Wait, what was that?
It's the dressing that went on the Texas caviar. So if you wanted to taste it without, you know, the salad, that's all we did that for. Oh, you know what? I don't, but I'm wondering if these guys might.
Paper towels.
Oh, paper towels work.
Who wanted one specifically? It has a little dressing on it, sorry about that. Okay, anyone else?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So this is the
That's the cheese sauce.
cheese sauce,
Mhm.
okay.
It smells wonderful.
And
Well,
this is
hopefully, it's the dressing that was on that.
Oh,
I just had that off to the side in case you wanted to try it by
So,
itself.
April, how many hours do you spend in the kitchen every day?
Oh, you know, when I'm cooking a lot, it's an hour
Do you-
maybe.
Do you do more than one meal when you're cooking, so you don't need
No,
to cook every day?
I don't cook like this every night. Like if I'm cooking, I cook just the tostadas, and we might have a little shredded cabbage and tomato on the side. I don't do I just do one main dish
Okay,
usually.
one main dish.
Yeah. Or if I'm doing something that doesn't have a vegetable in it, I'll do, you know, a side of steamed kale or broccoli or something like that. But there's usually a vegetable in it. You need one more hand.
This is so pretty.
How many times a week do you go to the store?
You know, I've gotten really good to sticking to, I do a grocery store run on Fridays, and I might have to stop one more time during the week, is all. So,
Because I can see,
I'm all ready for you.
Very
you
good.
know, how much
Thank you.
time is involved in chopping, and I know that that's gonna be people who work, the issue with it.
yeah,
Like, who has the time to chop all that stuff?
right. You know, I mean, to put together a salad like that, you know, for dinner, like I say, I just do one item. Like I'll just do that. We'll have that salad for dinner with some chips, and that'll be dinner.
And with your Chop Wizard,
It
that
makes
really
it-
goes quickly.
yeah.
So.
Wizard, I've never heard of that before.
Bed Bath & Beyond, I use mine all the time too.
Yeah.
I'm a big Cuisinart gal, but I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah,
It saves a lot of time.
it does.
And it gets
It-
a nice, it looked like it's pretty uniform.
It does. Makes it nice and same.
And here's really pretty.
And you can use the larger one if
Mine
you
looks
wanted
like
the,
that.
a chunkier,
My
you
mom
know.
didn't have pretty gray hair, so I'm not expecting it. But I'm hoping.
Let's see, do we need another, cake, I
We
think?
might need, are you getting some food for some? Oh. Oh, okay, so no, we're good on the cake.
Are you good on the
We already
cake?
got his cake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, we try to follow forks over knives.
Mhm.
And I like what you said about cake. It's so hard to cook without fat
Mhm.
with the water, and I'm trying.
The sauteing with water, yeah, that works,
But
that
this
works.
looks great.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Do you cook with tofu?
I do a little bit. I've got a little sensitivity to soy, so I don't use soy that much, but I have used tofu in the past. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Isn't that a phytoestrogen as well?
Yeah, but it's healthy. Again,
There's the whole thing about like, don't eat too much soy, that's breast cancer. 'Cause
You know-
I've had breast cancer, so.
the studies on soy protein and the harmful effects of it were done on isolated soy protein. So they've taken a soy isolate and put it on cancer cells, and yes, it's bad. A whole food, soy is good. It's actually beneficial. So,
I made one of the recipes from forks over knives
Uh-huh.
yesterday with tofu.
uh-huh.
I went with the dog. It's horrible. I had to-
Oh dear, oh
This
shoot.
looks so good.
Oh good,
This sauce is excellent. I'm definitely gonna.
good. I'm glad you like it. Glad you like it.
So does it taste about the same without the yeast?
It's a little bit different. I mean, nutritional yeast gives it a flavor, a certain flavor. But I had one gal say, I like this better. That she had my enchilada casserole that I put it in, and she said, I like it better without the nutritional yeast. So you can, I just increase, in fact, exactly, I take out the nutritional yeast and I do 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder, a full teaspoon of garlic powder, and I up the salt like a 1/4 teaspoon. Yep, and you can leave it out. So, something I didn't mention about cruciferous vegetables, it's just a little more detail about, just some science in the vegetable. With like kale and broccoli and collards and those cruciferous vegetables, there's 2 compounds that are your anti-cancer compounds. One's myrosinase and one's glucosinolate, and they're in different part of the plant. And when you chop them up, those 2 compounds come together to create isothiocyanates, which are your anti-cancer compounds. When you cook the vegetable, when you chop it and then cook it, you kill that myrosinase. But what you can do to help to bring in that in a raw form is to top it with like a cabbage. So like you're having your enchilada, your tostado with the broccoli, but it's cooked. If you put some raw cabbage on it, you're bringing in that myrosinase so that you're adding that to it, so you're getting those compounds. I mean, that's just one little thing. I know this gal that I like to listen to, Chef AJ, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of her, and then Pam Popper, she's a naturopathic doctor. She says, don't major in the minors, and she calls that worrying about adding cabbage to your cooked cruciferous vegetables is not necessary. It's just, something that people don't need to worry about. But if you've got a serious health issue, or if you've got a family history of cancer, or if you do have cancer, you kind of want to major in those minors. You want to do everything you can to reduce your risk, eliminate your chances of that cancer coming back, or whatever your issue is. So that's just another thing to think about. And I always like to put cabbage or lettuce or something on my burrito. I like to top it with a lot of things. And adding the cabbage is a really nice. It's a little bit different, and it's just a nice addition. And actually, it's a more traditional Mexican thing to add cabbage. If you've ever been to Ermita's, they have cabbage there. So Ermita's, they're not vegan in no way, shape, or form. I used to eat there back in the day, but I haven't for many years. But they have really good Mexican food. Yeah, I don't eat out. It's more frustrating for me than anything, because I'm so picky. I mean, I like my own food, and it tastes better to me than what I can get out. I go out and I'm right. Well, and I wake up in the morning with puffy eyes, and my rings are tight because of the sodium. It's so salty. I'm not used to all the salt, all the sodium. How is everything? Good. Well, somebody talked about time and the time that it takes to chop vegetables. I know most of my family members have spent hours and hours and days and weeks in a hospital bed. Don't want to do that. I would rather spend an hour every night in the kitchen preventing that. And so I like what, again, Pam Popper, she said, Pam Popper, she says you're going to spend the same amount of time and money on health care, whichever way you choose. If you choose healthy food, a gym membership, or whatever, you're going to spend, if you're not doing that, if you're not spending it on good healthy food, you're going to be spending it down the road on bypass surgeries and copays and hospital visits and all those kind of things. So you can choose which one you want to do. It's up to you. So just in closing, the greatest gift you can give yourself and your family is a healthy you. So like I said at the beginning, whatever you're doing, kick it up a notch. Add in more greens, add in more vegetables. I don't really preach vegan, vegetarian, raw food. I mean, raw food's great, and whole food, plant-based, 100% vegan is really good. There are no populations in the world who have been studied that eat a 100% vegan diet. The blue zones are the 5 healthiest countries in the world. They've been studied. They are centenarians and that live to be over 100, and their diet is like 96% plant-based as a rule, give or take a few percentages, but they're up there above 90%. And they're living past 100, they're out gardening and playing with their grandkids, and they're very active and healthy, and they're a good people to study and to learn from. And one of their main foods is beans. I didn't mention that when I was talking about beans. Their main source of protein is beans. So beans are healthy. There's a lot of things out there talking about lectins and how they're harmful and we shouldn't eat beans. Well, if the blue zones are living to be past 100 and that's their main source of protein, then, you know, beans are healthy. So anyway, do the best you can, and I hope I'm going to be here in October with some fall, probably a soup and some fall things, pumpkin things, and then again in November for a holiday menu. Would love to see you back. So until next time, I wish you the best of health for life. You're welcome. And I'll be here for a bit, so if you have any other questions, feel free.